right, evaluating functions. Moving on to lesson 2 in this unit. Evaluating functions, yes, you will need a calculator. It's not heavy work though, promise. It's just another let's take it easy lesson, all right? Evaluating functions can be compared to a machine where each input follows a rule to produce its output. In order you follow a certain rule, and you get a certain result. Two machine functions are given below. Use the given input values and function rule to find its output values. Okay. Well, here they want us to take the x in this machine right here. What do they want us to do with x? They want us to take x and multiply it by 2. That is the rule, 2 times x. So if I take x and plug it in, 2 times x, yeah. So if I take a 5, plug it in, 2 times 5, 2 times 5 is 10. Okay. Here they want you to plug in a 3 where the x is. Actually, I'd rather write it that way. They want you to take the 5, plug it in where the x is. So they want you to take a -3, plug it where the x is. My goodness, going crazy. Take 2 times -3. 2 times -3, -6. Easy peasy, right? Sometimes it's not as easy as that because your rule is a little bit larger. This time, what do? You take the input, you square it. You square x, then what? Add 1. So we take the 5, we put it right there where the x squared is. 5 squared, meaning 5 times 5 is 25 plus 1 is 26. Same thing here. Plug it in where the x is. -3 squared plus 1. -3 times -3 gives us what? +9. 9 plus 1 is 10. Okay. So function notation. There's different parts when it comes to function notation. F is the name of the function because you will see like F, G, H, or J. Just F of, you read it as, this is read as F of X and is equal to and it's also equal to Y. It's the same as having a Y equals. Now, why would we use F of X instead of Y equals? The reason we do that is because you want to know specifically which function you want to plug the number into. So say I ask you for F of 4, you want to look for the equation that starts with F of X. If I ask you to plug in G of 1, you want to look for the equation that starts with G of X, okay? So X is the input. This is where you will find the number that you need to plug in, your input value. Okay. So to evaluate for f of x is equal to 3x plus 9, let's say for x equals 5, you substitute the 5 for the variable x, and write f of 5 is equal to 3 times 5 plus 9. Anytime you plug in a number or substitute a number into an equation, into anything really, you want to put it in parentheses. Sometimes it affects it, sometimes it doesn't, but it's just good practice to put it in parentheses. If I had not put that in parentheses, it would look like a number 35, which is wrong. You want to multiply 3 times 5, then add 9, right? So therefore, what is f of 5? 3 times 5 is 15. 15 plus 9 is 24. So with evaluating functions, main thing, make sure you're putting your number in parentheses, okay? So evaluate the following functions. Here, they're asking us to evaluate f of 4, meaning put a 4 anywhere you see the x, okay? So we're going to take 6 parentheses, it already exists, but because we want to swap the x out with the 4, put up my 4 in parentheses, plus 9 parentheses again. Okay. Now, the good thing about this lesson is that it's not too much work. You don't have to do it in your head. I'm not going to require you to do it in your head. Just type it in your calculator and you get 78. Okay. -6. Especially when it comes to negatives, that's the most important time for you to put it in parentheses. Okay. So 6 parentheses again, -6 plus 9, you get 18. The only reason this type of lesson would be hard is if you end up plugging your number into the wrong spot. Okay. So where are we going to plug in these numbers? We're going to plug it in right there. Now, because of that squared, you want to keep the square outside. You want to keep that exponent of 2 outside the parentheses. Okay, so we're going to put parentheses 1 squared minus 12. Well, 1 times 1 is 1. 1 minus 12 is -11. Look at the difference of what happens whenever you do use your parentheses and when you don't. Squared minus 12. You get a -21. But when I put my -3 in parentheses, in case you forgot, your squared button is right here. So I'm going to put my squared minus 12. Look at the large difference in your solution. That's why it's always important to substitute using parentheses. Okay, this time we're going to substitute it into a fraction. But what do you notice about that fraction? It has 2 spots where you need to plug that number into. Okay, so we start with 8 minus -8. And on the bottom, another -8. That's going to be fun to type in. -8. And I forgot to put my minus sign. Okay. And a -8 on the bottom. We get -2. Next, 8 minus 8 on top of regular 8. 8 minus parentheses 8, parentheses 8. And this time you get a 0. Okay. So at the very bottom of this page, it says for p of x in question 3, is there a value of x where the function cannot be evaluated? Explain. Is there a number that we would be able to see that, or that we would be able to plug in and it does not give an answer? Think about it. You're dividing, right? So the actual answer is, yeah, there is one. You cannot divide by 0. Let's say we put a 0 in the denominator, or we plug in a 0. What happens? What would happen with our calculator if we were to plug in a 0? You would get an error message. Why? Because division contains 0. You cannot divide by 0. That would mean that our solution is undefined. Okay? So the answer is yes. When x equals 0, the function will be undefined. Okay, because you cannot divide by 0. What does the word undefined mean? People have a lot of trouble thinking about that word. Think about the word un. Un means not, correct? Define, definition. There is no definition for that number. It cannot, there is no number that exists to put in that spot. Okay? Undefined. Flip it over. Find f of 3. So same thing. F of 3 is going to equal 1/2. Make sure you put your 3 in parentheses. Minus 5/2. So you type all of that into your calculator. That's going to be fun. 1/2. Why is it? Okay, now we got it. 1/2 parentheses 3 minus 6 alpha. Okay. Minus 5/2. Oh, I don't have my closing parentheses. I messed that one all the way up. Let me clear that out. Let me try again. 1/2 parentheses, then parentheses 3 minus 6 parentheses. Okay, minus 5/2. Hardest part is probably going to be typing everything in, right? -4. So f of 3 is -4. Make sure you guys are also practicing typing this in. I know it's so easy to give in and just wait for me to type it in because you're just watching a video, but if you don't practice, you're not going to be able to do it the day of the test, okay? What is the value of h of -5? This time they want us to plug in a -5, so 5. Here we go. 5 parentheses. Betrayal. 5 parentheses -5 plus 3 and squared on the outside. That gives us 20. Please don't be asking for your assignment. There's still more to this lesson. Okay. G of -7. Last one. That's this simple. Remember, if it's squared, square goes on the outside. You should get 151 for this one. Okay. Given the function, number 7, given the function f of x is equal to x squared plus 10, what values of x will yield a negative output? What number can you multiply times itself and it will give you a negative output? Think about that. What number times itself can you multiply and get a negative response? The answer is none. X is squared. So plugging in a positive number will always result remember, positive times a positive is still a positive. Negative times a negative, still a positive. So it really doesn't matter what you do. Lino evaluated f of x for f of 9. Describe the mistake that he made. Well, go ahead and look at it for a second. It's one mistake that we talk about a lot. When you're going to plug in a number, make sure you plug it in parentheses. It also helps avoid that mistaking that minus sign for the negative because the minus sign was already there to begin with. Remember, you are plugging in a -9 where the x is. So that means that there's going to be two negatives next to each other. So actually f of -9, let's see what it would give us if we did it correctly. 18, not 418, 18, there it is. 2 minus -9, close the parentheses, and you get 198. So look at the drastic difference in your answer. Okay. All of these numbers that we're plugging in, notice they all represent what? X. Okay. So when you see a X right here, when you see a problem like this in the form of a graph, like we do on number 9, then it actually is technically a little bit easier. It says find f of -4. Why do I say it'll be easier? Because there's a -4 in your graph for x. In every graph, your x-axis is your horizontal axis, your y-axis is your vertical axis. So if I go to the x and find the -4, which is right here, I can go straight up to the line that is graphed to find what y value I would get, which is 6. Let's say it asks you for f of, just one more, for f of 3. Well, I go to x where there's a 3, right? 3 is in between 2 and 4. I go straight up, and what result do I get? 4. Okay. Easy. Hopefully easy peasy. A florist determines that her monthly profit in dollars from selling bridal bouquets is using this function. What will her profit be if she sells 12 bouquets? That means, what do they want us to do? Plug in a 12 anywhere we see an x. So 15 times 12 squared on the outside minus 10.5 times 12. The only place I see students make mistakes on this one is not recognizing that there's two x's that you need to plug in, okay? So just be careful. So 15 times 12, square that, minus 10.5 times 12. And you get 2,034 because we are talking about money. Okay. I don't think I need a calculator for this last one, and it looks big, so I'm just going to zoom out. Malcolm is shooting a free throw. The height of the basketball over time can be written as a function, h of t, where h of t is the height of the ball and t is time in seconds. T is the time in seconds. H is the height. Okay. Write in words what the value of h of 0 represents. Well, first of all, we need to know where h is 0. What h of 0 is. H of 0 would be the same as finding where what? Where the x value is 0. So if I go to the x value of 0 and I go straight up, what do I see? Is that it's 0, 5. H of 0 is 5. Okay. So we say that where x is 0, where the x value is 0, that would be what? Considered, what are we doing? We are shooting a free throw, starting point of the free throw. Okay. But why would the height be 5 at the starting point of a free throw? Because the player is holding the ball 5 feet off the ground. That must be where his hand placement is, 5 feet off the ground. Okay. Now it says find the value of h of 0.8. Well, h of 0.8, we think of h of x. So that means where x is 0.8, we find x is 0.8 right here. Go straight up, hit the dot, and if we go straight back across, what do we get? 10. 10 what? 10 feet off the ground. So its highest point reaches 10 feet. Okay, time for you guys to practice.